Could Jake Ferguson replace Dalton Schultz as soon as this year? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cowboys. Locked On Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs, the most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. Go to birddogs.com and use promo code LOCKEDON, and boom, a free Bird Dogs robe hat with your first pair of Bird Dogs. I am Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. He is Landon McCool. Check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. Landon, how's it going today, sir?
Going well. I'm actually very comfortable in my Bird Dogs right now, enjoying some Cowboys tape and excited to certainly talk to you all about it.
All right, so we're going to get to some of the All-22 notes that we had after spending Monday looking at the film. A lot of positives, some negatives that we can get to as well. This is a positive, optimistic podcast, Landon, generally. Right? So let's stay positive. I want to talk about Jake Ferguson because I think he was maybe the biggest takeaway for me in this game. Dalton Schultz was scratched. I don't want to say healthy scratch because he's certainly not healthy, but he had no injury designation going in this game. We thought he would play. He didn't. Jake Ferguson started. Frankly, looked pretty good.
Yeah, it sounded like maybe Schultz had done something in the Saturday practice, kind of re-aggravate things. It sounds like so. We'll see exactly how that injury designation holds up this week. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a situation where you're feeling like you had to rush Schultz back based on the performance of what you got out of Ferguson Sunday against the Eagles. He played, obviously his best game of the season so far. And I thought that the thing that was so impressive about it is that he kind of just showed you a little bit of everything, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
As a pass catcher, he had that great catch on Leak. It was kind of across the field and then made his way vertical, kind of against their zone coverage and just trying to basically walk the line between zones, and then turned upfield and made a great overhead catch. He had a couple other.
By the way, if that ball was thrown better, I'm not convinced that he's tackled because there was only one player to stop him. If that ball is thrown to him in stride, he might have scored on it.
He was wide open. And then, the touchdown obviously really showed off kind of what he can do where, he's running and out. It's a bootleg situation. He gets the ball and is able to kind of gather himself before the sideline, cut back inside, the kind of pursuing defenders and beat two guys inside to make it into the end zone from about 6 to 7 yards out. And then on top of that, just really showing out as a blocker. There were just several times when he was at the point of attack or making a key hinge block on power. And he was holding his up. I saw holding his own. Saw him hold his own against Josh Sweat on a couple of these kind of the hinge blocks where he's kind of making the key block. They really just and again, maybe we should expand it just a little bit because I think that Hendershot and McCool also had very good games. I think we'll talk about Ferguson because I think he had the most impressive of those three. But I think that all three of them had, rather impressive games, and it really shows you kind of how much the Cowboys trust those tight ends, even without Schultz on the field.
I want to go back to the touchdown really quickly because that's just a play that we didn't see him make at Wisconsin, right? Like kind of the thought process, and even like my thought process on him coming out of the draft was, hey, big, sure-handed tight end, not going to do a lot after the catch. I mean, that was ridiculous. That was when he cut up the field, I thought it was a mistake. I thought he should have just went for the pylon and tried to score. But no, he made multiple guys miss. Like if he's going to be able to make that type of play, we're having a different conversation about what his ceiling could be with the Cowboys.
Yeah, Brad Sham nailed it. I think he called him swivel hips, which I thought is a great nickname for a tight end. I mean, I think, just kind of take a step back and look at it from a 10,000-foot view. There's benefits to drafting athletic tight ends who know how to block already. I think that's because learning how to block in the NFL is one of the most difficult things you can do. If you're athletic and smooth and you have the kind of combinations that's required to become a good route runner, I think that's an easier skill set to learn once you reach the NFL than trying to become a good blocker. Ferguson came in with the kind of similar to Schultz, I think, where he came in with a skill set of like the knowledge on how to block,
the technique, right?
Yeah, the technique, and then just kind of has evolved as a pass catcher due to his athleticism. And I think he's really started to shine in that kind of two-way role as a tight end.
Is there any chance that by the time we get to the end of the season, he's just playing over Dalton Schultz?
I mean, I certainly think that there's a chance by the end of the season that they're trying their best to get into more multiple tight end situations to get both of these guys on the field because they like them so much. I think more than likely what would end up happening is that you would start to see more of a rotation, right? Even when there's one tight end on the field, right?
Like instead of having Schultz play 98% of the snaps, he might be at 65% and Ferguson might be at 42% or something like that.
Yeah, and I also wouldn't be surprised to see more kind of specific scheme stuff drawn up for Ferguson and some more of the tight ends. Now that you've got a little bit more of a versatile player, having two guys who can really catch the football on the field at the tight end position, that's really going to be valuable for the Cowboys.
We should mention Peyton Hendershot just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Man, he's frustrating to me at least because you can see that he's talented. But like the blocking stuff, like the technique is all over the place. His penalty that he had in the red zone where he just doesn't get set and he's like leaning forward and, it's that kind of stuff that is so frustrating because that he's a playmaker and that he's athletic. I just think he's quite a bit further behind Ferguson and obviously Dalton Schultz.
Do you kind of get the impression, I mean, that Hendershot penalty, I kind of, after watching it, I kind of got the impression that maybe he didn't know what the snap count was. Right. Or that he forgot what the snap count was.
My initial thought was, I think Cooper Rush was supposed to snap the ball faster than what he thought.
Yeah,
right?
that's
the timing was all off. But at the same time, Hendershot can't be bouncing up and down right in front of the referee, No.
And really, like, going back to your larger point, his blocking is such that he's physical, but he's fighting dudes. He's not blocking anybody. He could be called for holding almost every single one of his snaps. There's one play where he just grabbed a dude and threw him down. That's where having Schultz back is going to help so much, right? It's because we like Hendershot long term, like what he could eventually become. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a huge downgrade from Dalton Schultz to Peyton Hendershot as that second tight end, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, the blocking when you have to put 12 personnel on the field without Schultz is it's working. But man, I mean, you're kind of really living on the edge with Hendershot out there because he's holding a lot.
He's holding a lot. Now, again, this happens to a lot of young tight ends. They struggle. They struggle early on. Wouldn't be surprised like Hendershot next year if you see a significant improvement.
I mean, if only just because he's tough and he likes to fight and he has no fear of the physical aspect of the game. I think he's going to be a great blocker. You got to use technique, buddy, or they're going to call you, or they're going to arrest you. Frankly, I mean, he was assaulting dudes.
I mean, it's okay to have that kind of guy in your offense. You need a little bit of crazy every once in a while. The Cowboys haven't had that for a while.
Just keep those hands inside on the chest and not outside on the shoulders. Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about the offensive line, Landon. But before we do that, we want to tell you guys about Bird Dogs. Now, Landon and I, we actually called each other when they sent us some free sweatpants because we were so excited. They are absolutely just amazing. They are super comfortable, like the little cute Charmin bear rubbing up against your thighs. I know it sounds weird. I don't care. That comfy little family bear. They're absolutely perfect. You can wear them around the house. I wore the shorts out to the golf course the other day. Unbelievable. Go to birddogs.com, enter promo code locked on, and they'll throw a free Bird Dogs rope hat. That is birddogs.com, promo code locked on, and boom, a free Bird Dogs rope hat with your pair of Bird Dogs, the most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. You will not want to take these things off. I mean, Landon, how comfortable are they?
They're incredibly comfortable. It's crazy. I had another pair of sweatpants on, and as soon as these were washed again for the first time, I went and
Yeah.
immediately took them out of the the clean clothes and changed because I wanted to wear these pants.
Yeah.
They're so
It took me about 2 times of wearing them to go ahead and make another order. So again, go check out birddogs.com, promo code locked on. We also want to tell you about LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stake wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. All you have to do is add your job and then the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That is linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Landon, I gotta share a DM that you sent me yesterday. Actually sent it one of our group chats. You
This is
said,
why it's a DM and not
well,
a
it's
tweet.
okay. I'm gonna expose it a little bit. You said, is Terence Steele the best offensive lineman playing for the Cowboys right now?
Yeah, I mean, going back and watching, he's absolutely destroying guys in the run game. Like that, I think that part is, whether he's the best run blocker on this team, I don't think is actually in dispute right now. He's playing like an absolute monster. He's throwing guys around. What actually prompted that DM to you was watching him physically toss Milton Williams across a gap and a half when he was down blocking before he got to the second level to block a linebacker. He's just playing fantastic football right now. He's just physical. He's beating people up for a guy that like seems so kind of, just
laid
a
back,
nice guy, laid back in the interviews. Like he is a physical monster on the field. When the Cowboys are in fights, he's in there. He's in the middle of it. It's crazy how much he plays sort of like La'el Collins while being, kind of a very different seeming person than La'el Collins is, right? But look, I think part of this is that Zach Martin has been, great at times, but he's also had some very Zach Martin moments, right? Where
he's been a little off this year.
Yeah.
The way he got banged up. Was it early in the year he got banged up or he got rolled up on? And we don't know for sure. I don't want to speculate, but I wonder if he's just not 100% healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to really be in the run game that like it seems. I mean, I still think he's in pass blocking at an extremely high level, and he's still very good. It seems like kind of finishing assignments in the run game. It's like he doesn't always have that extra oomph of power that he used to have. And look, this is Zach Martin still playing fantastic football. That's not been an issue. It's not like he's being bad or even average or even just above average. He's still playing very good football. I just think that Terence Steele is playing like one of the best tackles in football, because if you look at obviously the run blocking stuff, which has always been good for him and has only gotten better, the pass protection is really where I'm the most surprised. He's just had a lot of success against good rushers. Even when he's in bad spots, he finds a way to kind of scrappy, push the guy just past the pocket or do what he needs to kind of make sure that it doesn't interfere with the play. I think that the offensive line as a whole played like that on Sunday. Just like scrappy, it felt like at times they were physically outmatched by a very talented physical Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. But I felt like it was very indicative of the team just to be making sure just getting enough of them to make it work. The Eagles were not able to get any sacks. Obviously, they had some pressure on Rush throughout the game, but it wasn't a huge factor in the Cowboys' ineptitude in offense for the most part. That blame kind of lays solely on Cooper Rush's feet to a large degree. But I think I just felt like on top of my comment about Terence Steele, who I think is just playing really fantastic football, I was impressed, across the line, just how much this team looked like they were physically outmatched at times, but were still able to battle through it in a way that was, effective.
Yeah. They're still searching for answers at left guard. Like I just, Jason Peters played this game. He played 4 plays and he had 2 blown assignments in 4 plays. I just don't know what the plan is there, because it continues to be the weakest spot on the offensive line. I don't know what they should do going forward, Landon. That's basically me asking you, what should they do?
I think the fact that we heard news about Tyron Smith today was not shocking to me.
We did. I actually missed it. Go ahead. Can you fill us in?
Well, it just sounds like that he's still working very hard. They still have plans for him before the end of the year. Like I don't know that there was any update really, but the fact that it was out in the atmosphere, I think to me reads like, hey,
he's still tracking to be on the field by late December is basically what you're saying.
Basically. And I think that is part of the plan. I don't know that necessarily Tyron Smith comes back and waits on the bench necessarily. So I wonder if the plan isn't to eventually knock Tyler back inside the guard when Tyron comes back and go from there, which,
it's fine.
I mean, I like all these options. I don't hate any of them. So I can understand the nitpicking of certain aspects.
It's just the next 8 weeks. Like what's going to be the plan at left guard in the next 8 weeks? Because I do think there's something for continuity, right? Like just letting Tyler Biotish get used to whoever's playing next to him, because they've had 3 different guys rotating into that spot between Connor McGovern, Matt Farniak, and Jason Peters. Like eventually find one solution, right?
Look, McGovern without a doubt is the weakest link. He hasn't played terribly. I mean, he is the guy I was just talking about that was really battling his butt off and just hanging on for dear life at different points with Hargrave and Cox. But I almost kind of feel like at this point you got to find a way to just ride it out with McGovern until you can get Tyron Smith back. I mean, I just don't know, unless you can get Peters up to a place where you feel comfortable with him playing guard, or you're comfortable with him playing left tackle and kicking Tyler Smith in sooner than later. And maybe that's what they do. Maybe what it is that once you realize that you're going to get Tyron Smith back and you feel comfortable with Jason Peters, maybe you kick him back out to left tackle and start moving Tyler Smith back into guard in anticipation of the idea that Tyron. It's not a bad idea.
I guess they didn't think about that, because you don't need to do it now. But maybe in November, if
after the bye or something,
right? Like, hey, Tyron's practicing this week. He's not going to play, but he's going to practice. Let's start getting Tyler Smith some reps at left guard, so when it does happen, we're ready to go by playoff time. It's not a bad idea. I'm curious to see if they do that. Before we move on to the defense, just any thoughts on the offense? I mean, we could talk about Cooper Rush. He didn't play well. But any other just general thoughts about the offense?
No, I mean, I feel like Cooper Rush was the culprit here, unfortunately, beyond the 3 interceptions, which it just felt like he struggled to get his footwork down at times. He was sailing a lot of passes early. There were at least, on top of the 3 interceptions, there were at least 3 plays where wide receivers were touchdown open, including obviously the 3rd interception to Lamb, where Lamb had toasted the corner and was running up the sidelines. A good throw would have easily been a touchdown to him.
He got hit a little bit on that throw, but still, yes.
But if you look at it, by the time he delivered the ball, it didn't affect his flight path. He needs to get that ball out there. It's just too far inside. That was just not a well-placed throw. Then there was another one where, Cooper, where Lamb had the slant, I think from the 10-yard line, and it got knocked down by Hargraves. Yep. And then there was another one where Gallup had one on a fade route down in the end zone, in the left corner of the end zone, and Rush just completely airmailed it out of the side, out of bounds, not even close. It was just he was off. He just wasn't throwing the football well.
It's a tough spot for a backup quarterback in a huge divisional game, and it happens. There was also another route. There was a 3rd and 1 where the Cowboys ran a bootleg out to the right, and it's one of those high-low concepts where you have a guy in the middle of the field and you have a guy underneath, and Gallup opens up wide open in the middle of the field. and he just didn't throw it. I don't know if it's because he was worried about not being able to get it there in time, or I have no idea.
Everything was late. Everything was
late.
off. I mean, even inside a clean pocket, like the interception to Gallup was because he threw the ball like after Gallup had gotten out of his comeback and just was sitting there standing next to a defender. The ball should have come out before Gallup was making his break, or as he's making the break, not tick, 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 throw the football. And that's the problem. So I before we move off the offense, I'll just say that to me, going back and watching this, it gave me a lot of hope because honestly, wide receivers are winning. They're getting open. The offensive line was blocking well enough. It was simply a case where the quarterback couldn't operate at a level that he needed to.
It's okay. He did his job for the 4 weeks, right?
Absolutely.
Kept it afloat, didn't turn the ball over. But as you saw in this game, when you play really good opponents, top tier opponents, you have to have a quarterback that can add value to your offense. It can make throws on time and in rhythm. It's just not where Cooper Rush is at in this stage of his career. It's okay. It's fine. He did exactly what the Cowboys needed him to do. All right, Landon, let's talk about the defense. But before we do that, we want to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is so much fun. All you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you win. And you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on just about any sport that you watch. That includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. They are currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. Download the Prize Pick app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, they'll give you $50. Don't forget to use promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. All right, let's talk about the defense. Where did they struggle the most in this game, in your opinion?
It felt like the place where they kind of were struggling the most was on the second level at times, kind of filling in on some of these runs. I mean, I think that for the most part, the defense played really well. I think that they struggled at times to kind of consistently tackle when they needed to. There were a couple of broken tackles, but not too much. And really, like the times that it really kind of they were having issues were when like Leighton or Curse were getting caught up in the trash on the second level and unable to kind of fill in the alley. And that's when you see Sanders kind of bursting out on some of these 11, 13-yard runs, especially on that one drive after the Cowboys scored to make it 17-20. It really felt like they struggled on that the early part of that response drive by the Eagles.
They just couldn't get the third down and short. Or third down and long.
The early downs were really, really killing them, and they were able to kind of cross the 50 without too much, problem. I felt like for the most part, though, like the defense played well, and I think the kind of results, played that out a little bit. If you look at the way they played, it was mostly a clean game. They didn't have a whole bunch of missed tackles. They had pretty decent down-to-down results. I mean, I highlighted this in my notes. Half of the Eagles' 26 points came on three different drives in which they got the ball on the Cowboys side of the field. And that's like, I mean, the fact that the Cowboys were even in this game after that is a tribute to like how well the defense played.
Yes.
Honestly.
And one thing that we've noticed, like a trend for the Cowboys defense this year, is it usually takes them a few plays before the defense really gets going, right? Like, let's say they have a kickoff to the end zone. They start on the 25. They'll give up a couple first downs. And then once teams like cross the 50 is when they really start to shut down offenses. The problem was in this game, the offense was so bad that they were giving the Eagles the ball inside of the 50. So, okay, now you have to go right on the field, and it's time. You got to hold them to a field goal, and they just weren't able to do that early in the game.
And honestly, I think if the Eagles had not been given those opportunities inside the 50, I think they probably would have been in trouble. If you look at what happened, they weren't able to complete any passes down the field.
No,
they completed no passes beyond 10 yards throughout the whole game. and the Cowboys were rallying to tackle and consistently, doing a good job. It's just there's only so much you can do when you get that much opportunity and you're already, 10 yards away from being able to kick a field goal. You add in a couple of, despite the fact that they didn't have a ton of penalties, they had one or two key
Huge
timed penalties, that could extended things. But I thought for the most part, the thing that was really encouraging is that the Cowboys defensive line took it to the Eagles offensive line. I mean, that was the most sacks the Eagles had given up all year. Hurts wasn't quite under pressure the way that some of these other quarterbacks have, but that's because Philadelphia wasn't going to put him in a position to be that. It was all RPOs, all short throws, all rhythm throws. And then when the opportunity came for Hurts to actually drop back and throw the football early on from the games, at the very beginning, his eyes were already lowering to look at the rush because the stunts and the loops that the Cowboys defensive line were doing were distracting his eyes. They were getting guys loose enough, maybe that they weren't hitting Hurts every time or sacking him every time, but they were getting loose and they were affecting the throw, and that's what caused some of Hurts's overthrows and that sort of thing. So I think that for the most part, the defensive line played a really good game. I think it bodes well moving forward that this defense, this wasn't a situation where the Cowboys defense got exposed by the Eagles offense at all. Like this is what I expected them to do. I just think that the Cowboys offense needed better results to kind of win this game. But if you get a similar game like this when we play them in December, I'll take it, man. This was not terrible results, to be honest.
I really wonder how different the game would have been if Dante Fowler doesn't jump off sides on 4th and 4, right? Because
it's crazy watching that specifically last night. Like it's just like after going through all these plays, kind of analytically, it's like, holy cow, man, that's the one that really kind of changed the fate of the tone of what was going on that defense,
right? Because it's again. After the first quarter, this game is 0-0. Like I think people, listen, Eagle fans, I know that you listen to this podcast because you guys are more obsessed with the Cowboys than your own team. The Eagle fans act like this game was a blowout from the instant that kickoff happened. That wasn't the case at all. It's 0-0 going into the second quarter.
The second quarter was a blowout, but the rest of it, the Cowboys mostly won for the most part.
I don't think the Eagles were actually going to go for it on 4th and 4 from the 10-yard line. I think what they were going to do was see if Dallas was going to jump off sides, take the delay of game penalty, and kick the field goal. That's at least what I think they were going to do. Once they got the first down, it completely changed the game. It just electrified that crowd. And now it's 7-0, and I think Cooper Rush throws an interception like on the next play, right? Like after the Cowboys get the kickoff. One Dante Fowler penalty maybe changes this game from 17-0 or whatever it was to, hey, maybe we're talking about a 10-10 game going into halftime or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's a huge penalty in the game. It's just, if only for mentality for the Eagles offense. I think if they kick the field goal there, they have a whole different mentality on offense coming into the next few drives. And I think the Cowboys defense feels really good about themselves. So, but look, it didn't work out that way, and even with that, like I said, I think the Cowboys defense did what they needed to do to win this game for the most part. It just wasn't enough.
If there's one spot you'd like to see the Cowboys defense improve, over the next couple of weeks and kind of leading up to that next Eagle game, where is it at? Is it at defensive tackle outside of Osa? Is it the linebackers? What do you think?
I actually thought the defensive tackles played okay. It wasn't like they were getting gashed up the middle or bodies were being moved. Sometimes it's just going to happen. This is a very good offensive line. Like let's not discount that at all. I think if it's for me, I need Curse to start playing at a level that he was playing at before the injury, or at least even last week, honestly. And I think that Anthony Barr as well, didn't have the best.
It's not a great matchup for Barr.
Yeah, I think that Leighton Vander Esch, struggled with some of the same stuff that those guys did, but I thought Leighton, outside of, a couple of missed B-gaps, played a really good game, including, just being able to clog things up in the middle, get outside to make tackles on the screens. But I do think that some of the rest of the second level players kind of got caught up in the trash. There was some holding that just didn't get called too, including on Parsons, which is fine. That's going to happen. But the guys need to find a way to fight through some of that and kind of continue to make the plays.
Yeah,
and I think that's really the place. The second level in the run game at times was tough.
When I watched this game, thought players 21. I mean, sorry, like 21 of the 22 starters. There was really no difference between the Cowboys and the Eagles. Like they were all very comparable. The difference was they weren't playing with a backup quarterback, and that kind of limited what Dallas could do on offense. And the Eagles have their full offense, and everybody was healthy on basically both sides of the ball. These are two very similar teams when you have healthy quarterbacks on each side. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what the next matchup looks like. And frankly, I hope it means something, because I am a little bit worried that Philadelphia is going to be at the point where they can rest guys, but we'll see. I'm looking.
We'll see.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's the NFL season, so God only knows what's going to happen the next few weeks.
Again, we need everybody to be Steeler fans here at week 8.
As much as you love to say that, right?
Yeah, I might not be rooting for the Steelers. That is it for today's show. Thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every day. Now make your second listen to Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow our podcast on YouTube. Please go like, subscribe over there. Go follow Landon on Twitter at McCool BCB. I am at Marcus _Mosher. We'll see you guys next time.